Cenk, it wouldn't be another week in this country without the killing of another black man. 32-year-old Winston Smith was killed by federal marshals in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And you would recognize the name of the city because that city has been reeling in the wake of the George Floyd murder over a year ago, the Derek Chauvin trial, the Dante Wright murder that took place during the Chauvin trial, and now the murder of Winston Smith. I want to read this one quote saying that 32-year-old Winston Smith killed by federal marshals in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Original reports Winston was wanted on murder charges, but authorities later said the task force members were looking for a man wanted on a warrant for being a felon in possession of a gun. So in other words, the original report that came out stated that he was wanted for murder, and that was the cover under which the authorities were going to, that was the warrant that they were seeking to execute. But as information came out, it says that Winston Smith was not actually wanted for murder. He was wanted for missing trial and for the possible possession of a firearm. Two totally different reasons to be going after someone, and two totally different ways of looking at the case. There was a woman who was in the car with him, and this is what she said, or rather this is a quote about her. A woman who says she was with Winston Smith when he was killed by police said Thursday through her attorneys that she never saw a gun on Smith and never saw one in his vehicle, contradicting the initial law enforcement reports. State investigators say Smith, 32, fired a gun from his vehicle as deputies closed in, although there's no body camera or squad dash cam footage of the shooting. And Cenk and Lance, this is I don't want to say the odd thing, because we're starting to get used to whether or not body cams are optional at this point. Right, we spend all kind of money when we talk about reform. We always talk about spending more money for more training, and all we see in more technology. But we see now more than ever, what they do is they have training to cut off the technology. And so they haven't made it clear whether or not there's any footage at all, Cenk, but they are making it clear that there's no body cam or dash cam footage. And so it's kind of murky at this point, but yet again, in the same city where so many things have been happening over the last year, yet another murder of a black man by authorities, this time federal marshals.
All right, so first, let me jump in and clarify three things that I can tell you that we know well enough. All right, so number one, the Minnesota Justice Coalition President Jonathan McCollins questioned why law enforcement, according to the Minneapolis Post, why law enforcement would not want to release footage if they believe their actions were justified. Okay, so it appears that there probably is footage, and they are not releasing it because their actions were not justified. Okay, number two, the United States Marshals right now don't wear body cameras. I would never believe law enforcement that choose not to wear body cameras if they tell me, oh, just take my word for what happened in that shooting, just trust me on it. No, the answer is a hard no. That is, overwhelming evidence shows that when police don't show you the video and they tell you something happened and then they show you the video later, they're almost always lying. We did a story just a couple of weeks ago where the police said that a guy that they had chased had run into a tree and hit the tree and died. And then they released the video, and it turns out, no, he had not hit a tree. They dragged him out of the car, handcuffed him, dragged him by his feet face first, and pummeled him and beat him to death. So now, in the case of the marshals, first they say, oh, he's wanted for murder. Then they say, well, maybe not wanted for murder. Then they say he he had a weapon and then discharged the weapon. But wait, let's break it down. So that gets me to conclusion number three. The members' task force said that the person at hand here, Winston Smith, had, quote, made contact, or the marshals had made contact with him, Smith. Made contact with him. Okay, that's a curious way of phrasing it. Then they said it was, quote, in an attempt to take him into custody. So these are weird, vague descriptions, okay? But it gets way weirder. According to them, at one point, Hennepin County Sheriff's Deputy and Ramsey County Sheriff's Deputy serving on the task force discharged their weapons, striking the man. No. When somebody's a danger to the cops in any way, shape, or form, and we've covered this 1,000 times. Oh, they were driving in my vicinity. they called that, oh, attempted murder. The guy was coming to get me. It was the worst thing that ever happened. Me and everyone I knew in town was in danger, and I had to kill him on the spot, right? This is not that. This is the task force discharged their weapon, happening to strike the man. That doesn't sound like you were in imminent danger, but it gets worse. I'm reading from the Minnesota Post again. Early stages of the BCA investigation found evidence Smith fired his weapon from inside the vehicle. The BCA reported crime scene personnel, quote, recovered a handgun as well as spent cartridge cases from inside the driver's compartment. It's still unclear whether the gun was fired during this encounter or not. Now, there is no way that he fired at the cops and they didn't say it. Okay, this loose talk about there was a gun and it was discharged at some time. No, if they killed him and he fired at them, they would definitely tell you that he fired at them. So I'm telling you right now, I guarantee you that they're lying. Lance.
I just wanted to say two quick things. One, yes, the US Marshals don't have to wear body cameras, but what's more intriguing is that local law enforcement apparently, they can be told by US Marshals that they have to turn their body cameras off, which is also super messed up. But speaking to Ben's points, like there's this, I find right-wing conservatives like to say after the fact, whether it's like Derek Chauvin or whoever gets murdered by the police, that he was bad because he actually was taking drugs or he was high on fentanyl or whatever it was, or in this case, he had priors to all that. That doesn't really matter to me. I don't think that gives cops the ability to be able to act as Judge Dredd in these cases, right? Like it just seems like time and time again, when the cops are acting as the executioners in this case, and we don't even know what really happened because we don't have the body cam footage. On top of everything else, do we have to justify it after the fact because he was actually a danger to society? That's not the way any of this is supposed to work.
Yeah. Sorry, Ben, go ahead.
No. I was gonna say it shouldn't work like that, but you just outline the method that they use every single time. It's like not only of these families are having to grieve the loss of their loved ones, but they're also having to go into full PR mode to protect the reputation and the legacy of that person before they've even had a chance to have a funeral. Because these are massive PR machines, Cenk, as you were pointing out, the language that they use there, it's massively passive and insidious. I mean, they're saying just enough to cause confusion and the plausible deniability in the minds of people reading it and to protect their police officers. So you're not only having to fight on the reality these families have lost loved ones, but now they're also having to go into full PR professional mode in order to protect the reputations of their loved ones.
So it's not that you don't need US Marshals or policing. Of course you do, right? There's serious crimes afoot. And Winston Smith did something he clearly should not have done. It was 4 years ago. It was assault and robbery of his ex-girlfriend. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison. But apparently, for whatever reason, the sentence was stayed for 3 years. I don't know if it was his first offense or something. So he never even actually went to prison. That's the decision that the court system made. So you get the sense of the severity of the crime. He did not even go to prison, okay? Now, does that mean they shouldn't have gone to get, by the way, the reason they were going to get him is because then apparently he had a firearm, which is a violation of the term, so he had to go to prison. So should they have gone to pick him up? Yes, yes. It's not to minimize those crimes. Those crimes are serious, okay? But should someone be executed? I mean, and right wing, be really careful in your answer here. Should someone be executed for having a firearm when they shouldn't? Because they went to go pick him up for having a firearm when he shouldn't. Okay, no, of course, it doesn't matter if you're left or right wing. If you're a decent person, an American citizen, you know that they should not be executed for that. They should be apprehended. So when the US Marshals say, somebody happened to discharge a weapon and the guy happened to get hit and he happened to die, and he had a weapon in his car and it was discharged at some point, you know that he did not fire at them. There's no way in the world the US Marshals, who are desperately trying to hide the criminal in their ranks, who shot and killed Winston Smith, is going to tell you that is not going to tell you that they were fired at if they were fired at. Okay, so I would bet any amount of money. So if you're still one of those folks who grew up on mainstream media and you watch local news and they told you all the cops are great and you watch the movies and the TV shows and NYPD Blue and they're just the world's greatest human beings, And they never ever lie. Okay, look, man, there's a lot of bridges to sell you, and COVID vaccine causes people to be magnetic, and even though Trump lost 60 court cases, there were millions of votes that none of the courts could find. I know you'll believe anything, but for the rest of us, no. Every action by the US Marshals in this case indicates that they did something deeply wrong, and they're trying very hard to hide it. And that goes to my last point, which is thin blue line is just a code for I'm gonna protect everybody in my gang, no matter what they did wrong, including killing people like Winston Smith. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.